Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a wonderful day ahead of you. I noticed slightly later than usual by the time I got home from the fly, made the slides, caught up with the Villa game. It just wouldn't have been a very good video because I was running on very little energy. So I thought I would produce it today so it would be a better video for yourselves. I have for you one of the most interesting team selections that I probably will have this season and certainly have had so far this season, including what I've decided to do with my players, my benchings, and my managers, all to come. So stay tuned for that. If you have been a regular viewer for a long time, which a lot of you have, and you're one of the thousands that have not subscribed, which a lot of you are, I'd be greatly appreciative if you could press the button as we push for 7,000 subscribers. And equally, let's try and get this video to 450 likes. I assure you it will be an interesting one, so let's hop into it. Before the team selection, we will start with a quick game week review. 99 points scored, -4 for a 95-point net, and a small grey red arrow down about 200 places to maintain a rank of 25k. In terms of the rank, and considering I've got all chips left to play aside from the assistant manager, very happy with it. Very good position to hopefully get a brilliant finish. In terms of the last two game weeks, I would say the tale has been very much the same. I do well in the assistant manager department, getting a combined 36 points from Moyes and Emery, but the two biggest threats to my rank in terms of the players, Chris Wood and Trent Alexander-Arnold, hurt me. Last week, Trent and Konate match each other, but this week, obviously, Trent outscores Konate by 12, and if you went there, which I imagine many of you did, congratulations. And then with Wood, obviously gets a 17-pointer against Brighton, followed up with a 9-pointer when some of my differentials are blanking. Doesn't really help, and hence why my rank has stayed largely the same, with a small red arrow over the two game weeks. In terms of the team, really happy with Ollie Watkins. Was looking to bring him in even before the Cody Gakpo injury. So delighted that went well. Delighted I also didn't captain him because that was a late thought of mine. I did get close enough to putting it on him, but if I had scored 15 points and Salah still outscored him by 5, I would have been a little annoyed, I guess. In terms of the other departments, I think Jordan Pickford wasn't a million miles away from the Hordes, given how the game went, so that would have been lovely to get, but not to be. And then I guess Foden, not scoring in a 4-0 or not even returning, wasn't ideal, especially when in Mbeumo blank, so I could have gained a lot in that spot. Dango comes into the side and performs instantly, gets a goal early on anyway, just to make things a lot easier. So very happy with that. Team I think looks good, could look better, not overly delighted with the structure. I would like maybe a few more transfers to restructure, but you see that within the video. But overall, still a very healthy position to be in. And congratulations if you had a brilliant game, because I've seen a lot of people rank up huge in the last two. There isn't too much to speak about here because there's no way I'm selling Jordan Pickford with the form that Everton are in at home to Manchester United in the early kickoff. I mean, Goodison will be roaring for that. Last time they host Man United there, and I think that'll certainly factor in terms of how the game goes. And like I said, Everton are just in such good form at the moment. The whole fixture as well. I think with United, I wouldn't say the chance creation issue is maybe the number one issue they have. I'd argue even the finishing is the number one issue they have, because even when they are getting into the, not the volume they would like, but when they are, they're just not putting it away. And I think that's just down to the players. I don't really know what the manager can do about that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not his biggest fan, and I think he made mistakes so far, in my opinion, but nonetheless, I think when it comes to that particular variable, it's more so down to the players. And as such, I could see Jordan Pickford getting maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 saves, a bonus point and a save point, and it would be a wonderful return for him alongside a clean sheet. Obviously, you still got to respect the quality that Man United have, and if he doesn't keep a clean sheet, I don't think you can complain one bit. But regardless, I think it's a healthy prospect and not too much to talk about here. His sale in 29, well, his sale in 30 will be a potential talking point, but aside from that, for the foreseeable future, it's an easy hold. For many of you, it will start to get a little bit more interesting here, just given the benching dilemmas you will face, especially if you own Trent. But for myself, it's far more straightforward. I mean, Burgess, he's got Spurs. I think Spurs win and score. So stays on the bench, and his expected minutes aren't really there either. And then Konate's got City away, whereas the other three have home games, and they just make more sense to play. I would say Gabriel, Robinson, and Hall all have more threat when it comes to attacking returns. Konate's got that bullet header in him, but I don't think City are maybe the best side to score a bullet header against. I don't recall them conceding too many corners just in the past few years or with this side. And I expect City to score, I guess, at least once with how Liverpool's defence looks at the moment. And I think the schedule has a big part to play in that, just the fact that it's so intense for them at the moment, and it's just another away game. So yeah, there's again not too much to talk about there. I know some of you are considering selling Lewis Hall, and what I would say is just make sure when you do sell him, because you're going to have to buy him back potentially if you wish to do so on a wildcard at a more expensive price, that the money you're losing here isn't that big of a deal to you, and you can facilitate that, if not considering selling someone else. We'll come on to Glassnote when we talk about the assistant manager section, but I'm quite bullish on Fulham this game week, and he's been an absolute assist magnet this season. So I'll be starting Robinson, and then Gabriel is just Gabriel, so I can't really bench him Mate in this game week. And this is where it starts to get a lot more interesting, because I have 4 potential routes open to myself and a benching decision to make potentially if I am not to sell one of them. Now, I could roll, and I could essentially back Villa to beat Chelsea, which I think is the most probable outcome out of the 3 these 2 sides meet on Saturday. I also have Rodgers and Watkins, so I could double there and have a triple Villa and really go for that and have the upside available to myself. That is option number 1. Option number 2 is selling Phil Foden for Brian Mbeumo. I think his fixture this week is wonderful. I think he's a good differential captain option for Salah, which will also come onto the captaincy. I think that he's also got 2 home fixtures after that, and Brentford is obviously better at home. And with Foden, McAtee's minutes are kind of annoying me because he's such a good player and he's playing well when he comes on. These 70-minute subs are becoming a little bit more frequent, and I don't particularly like that. So this is another option, but I would only really be doing this if I'm going to go the whole way and captain Brian Mbeumo. Otherwise, it doesn't feel worth it. Or I go and play the upside. I go Unai Emery to Potter, and regardless of how I think Villa do, I essentially am bullish enough on West Ham to allow myself to take the bet here and open myself up to the upside. Similarly, with option D, I do the same, but on top of that, I'm not too confident in Palmer. I'm not too confident in Rodgers, and thus I take a hit for one of the Bournemouth mids with a -4. And then obviously, if these 2 players both remain, I have to bench one of Palmer or Rodgers. So these are all the options available to myself. I just kind of wanted to show you where I'm at. And now you can see the first reveal of what I've decided to do. Notice that not a single transfer has been made in the midfield department, which means that Brian Mbeumo will not be coming into the side as captain, nor will there be a hit taken place in the team this game week. Starting with Brian Mbeumo and Phil Foden, and you also might notice someone on the bench as well, which we'll of course come on to. Starting with Phil Foden, like I said, I was only going to bring Brian Mbeumo in really if I was going to captain him. Otherwise, I thought the risk was a little bit too large for a 4-point hit in isolation when there's not exactly a double game week on offer as well. So more opportunities to return the point. Less so. Therefore, there is a little spoiler that I won't be captaining him, but I will be captaining Mohamed Salah. Now, I know in everything you need to know, I said I was slightly higher on Watkins, but following the Villa game, I just cannot go past Salah. I also think the fact that they went to Madrid and lost, and the fashion in which they conceded the goals has certainly played a part in me reverting, I guess, back to a Salah captaincy. I would love to go against him, but really simply, he's just too good, and he's just playing too well at the moment for me to go against him. It's not just the goals and assists which helped me to get to this decision. It's the micro actions. Honestly, they play a huge part in this. They're all so sharp, and he's just getting so many things right again and again and again, minute after minute in every single game. And as such, with the conditions provided, I don't think they're as good as maybe they have been in the past against City, but they're certainly not bad with the form of Blues. And as such, I'll be going Salah. Jack just put it beautifully. I was just recording with him beforehand for Fantasy Football Hub, and he said that with Salah, you expect it. With pretty much everyone else, you're hoping for. And as such, I think Salah's like really high floor there, especially competing against a forward who has ceiling limitations, given his position, means that it's even more of a risk to go against. So as such, I'm going Salah. Foden's an interesting one. I think one thing I don't like is James McAtee taking minutes off him. And you know what? Deservedly so. Like, McAtee's been really good when he's come on. So, like, taking these 20 minutes off him, fair enough from a footballing standpoint, but from an FPL standpoint, a little bit annoying. I'm not quite sure how this game's going to go anymore. Foden could get a return. It really depends on the position he's playing. If he is playing in his, like, right-sided end role, I would much prefer that. Small chance of rotation risk, just because like he might play De Bruyne and Marmoush together, albeit like if he didn't play De Bruyne in this game against Real Madrid, I do have slight fitness concerns over De Bruyne, and we know that he'll have him on the bench even if he's not 100% there. And in a game as intense against Liverpool, you want more off the ball, and I don't think De Bruyne is in a place to provide you with that quite at the moment. So yeah, I'll keep him for at least one more week. I'll probably keep him for 29 as well and kind of just see how he does. The good thing about him is he's absolute quality. So he's always got goals in the locker and a high ceiling at that. Atara picks himself, right? Bournemouth number 9 at home. Moving on to Cole Palmer and Morgan Rodgers. One thing I would say is I'm slightly worried that Palmer has a ceiling limitation at the moment, especially in these type of games. Firstly and foremost, even when he's creating chances, people aren't really putting them away and we don't have the best set of finishes. Secondly, he's not really getting in the positions now so that Jackson's out and what Jackson provides for him indirectly to get into the positions whereby he can hurt the opposition much, not just in terms of goal scoring, but also chance creation. And like I said, with the finishing issue that we have at the moment, I just feel like for him to actually go and get a haul is quite difficult at the moment, and a lot of things have to go right. And he's absolute quality. So yes, when he gets in the positions, he can produce. But I just don't think he's going to get into them anywhere near as frequently as we have seen in the past, especially if we like utilize a diamond and he's not playing in the right-hand side of a box midfield, which is his preference and what has been so much better for him in terms of output in FPL. And therefore, I'm more comfortable starting Rodgers because I think Villa score goals, because I think they could probably go on and win. And also, he seems the type to really rise to these type of occasions. And I quite like that. And I speak about how I look at these things as well. So for me, for those reasons, I'm going Morgan Rodgers. I'm not particularly terrified of going against Palmer. Like, yeah, sure, he could get a return and then get some bonus. But I think Rodgers is honestly more likely to haul out of these two. And that's what I'd like to open myself up to. So now we can move on to the forwards. I showed you the potential transfer plans that I had for this week, and none of them involved any of the forwards because the prospects are just too good this week, especially relative to the rest of the team. And Wissa away to Leicester. Someone I even spoke about potentially captaining in everything you need to know. So that kind of picked himself. Watkins in really good form at home to a Chelsea side that I think they're going to beat. Again, I like that a lot. And then Isak, I would say, again, what am I meant to really be doing there, right? Considering that I want to hold him in 29 as well, even though he blanks because I have so much value stored up in him and I'm looking to have him beyond 29, so I don't really want to have to pay an extra 0.5. It's not ideal because it blocks a spot like, for example, Matthias Cunha or Chris Wood in 29, but nonetheless, for reasons which are more associated to the longer term, I shall be keeping him. And if you're wondering why I'm not looking at the camera, my eyes are just really playing up at the moment, and with the lighting, it's just a little bit difficult. I've had to refilm some sections so many times as a result. That's basically why. And yeah, I think with the front line, it just makes the most sense to keep it going with these guys. I expect them to do quite well. 2 home games as well for the big strikers, which I think is quite helpful in the other way to Leicester. So the fixtures are good and the prospects are certainly there. And now we can move on to captaincy. As discussed previously, I shall be captaining Mohamed Salah. I mean, I could be captaining Ollie Watkins for all of the reasons discussed and everything you need to know, and obviously follows it up with a goal against Liverpool. But the reasons discussed earlier in this video, I'm now slightly more comfortable captaining Salah. And I've got the armband, vice armband on Wissa. That could realistically be on anyone. It could even be on Rodgers, given how I've spoken about in this game week. It could be on Isak, could be on Watkins, and it could be on himself. I'm not sure where I'll put it, but it should largely be irrelevant as you expect. The guy who is probably one of the most available wingers in the league be available on Sunday. And yeah, what I will speak about, and I'll speak about it more in solving your problems, is those considering going against Salah and where you could go. You could, of course, go Watkins, as I discussed. But if there was one to pick, I would be going Brian Mbeumo. I think Brentford certainly have the opportunities to score a few against Leicester. And I don't think he's looked as bad as maybe some of the statistics or even some people would have suggested over the last few weeks. And as such, I'm quite comfortable going there. I think a big thing is the fact that he's a mid, and just opening up yourself to that upside is a big thing for me when going against Salah, because to profit, you'll probably have to do quite well. The likelihood of him blanking, as you've seen this season, is very, very, very small. I will put a comment in the section below, but my eyes are really just playing up in the moment. So that's why if it feels a little bit rushed, I guess it is so. And I'm not looking at the camera too much. You will see in the top left corner of your screen that I've gone for someone that I imagine a lot of you will like, nor a lot of you will favor or go for yourselves. But I am actually going to go for Graham Potter for the reasons discussed in everything you need to know. Lucas Paquetá being out isn't ideal, but potentially a blessing in disguise if Evan Ferguson is to start up top and play quite well. What I would also say is that they don't have many attacking options off the bench, or at least they're missing out on both their other number 9s and Somerville, which I would have liked later in the game. But with the engines and the durability within games that Kudus and Bowen have, I don't think it should be too big of a factor. Look, I would love for them to have a different physical profile in that number 6 zone when they play this back 5 especially, or more so needed when they play the back 4, but it would help in the back 5 regardless, but they don't. And I'm just hoping that between Alvarez and Suchet, they can kind of get the job done. In terms of the rest of the team, I feel quite comfortable with them. Obviously, Gufal's out, so I think Cresswell slots into left centre back, or maybe Tadibo plays. But regardless, I think they've got enough to get something against Arsenal for the reasons discussed and everything you know, which you can, of course, go and check out. And yeah, I'm going for it. I think in terms of the strategic side of things, I really, really, really did consider keeping Emery. It saves me a transfer. It also means that considering I'm starting double Villa, I can really load up there. But given Chelsea still have enough quality, definitely go there and produce like a draw, at least, let's say. I just feel like I'd be missing out on a whole lot of upside. And I do genuinely think that they're here to justify me going for it, not just for strategic reasons, but also in a rational sense. I know many of you will disagree, but that's what I'm going to do, and I have to just, I think it's best. So yeah, I'll be going for Graham Potter, and it'll be a very interesting transfer plans on Sunday, that's for sure, when we review how it's gone. And that is all she wrote for this video, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, I can barely look at the camera because my eyes are genuinely really straining. So it's probably going to be a shorter one than usual, and maybe a slightly less detailed one as well. But hopefully I've covered everything that you need for this. And like I said, for the Graham Potter analysis, it's located in everything you need to know. It should be a really interesting game week. I shall see you for solving your problems tomorrow. If you could drop a like and a subscribe on the channel, I'd be greatly appreciative. And I shall see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.